Welcome everyone to another Vibrant Music Teacher Chat. It is wonderful to be back with you again. Today we are diving into business. Business for music teachers. What do you need to know? What do you need to pay attention to? Well, there's a lot in this topic. What I'm going to do in this video today is give you an broad strokes overview of this is everything we have to pay attention to in our business. This is all the things, and hopefully you can dive into different areas of that as you need to for your business, depending on what's most important to you right now. So let's dive in. A huge, fantastic warm welcome to all of you joining me live. If you're new, hi, welcome. It is wonderful to have you here. And if you are new, you might not know who I am. So I am Nicola Canton. I run a company called Vibrant Music, where we help teachers to make more music spread further, to keep their students engaged in lessons with fun and effective resources and training. And business is a big part of that. Business cannot be left out of the equation, because if your business isn't running efficiently, you can't engage with your students because you're so distracted by your business anyway. So today we're going to be chatting about business, and I'm excited to dive into that. Just a quick hello to lots of people joining in live, lots of regulars here in the chat. We've got Eloise, hi, great to see you here. Gary, who says, sometimes I have trouble juggling all the things, lesson notes, accounting, marketing, attracting new students. Yeah, there's a lot going on for sure, Gary. Carrie, great to see you here again. Jazreel as well from Singapore. Claire, Carrie, Lori, hi guys, hi everyone. Alice, fantastic. So many regulars in the chat and a few new people as well. If you are new and you haven't said hello, say hello in the chat. We're a friendly bunch, I promise. And that's a big part of what makes these chats special if you are joining live, is actually chatting, right? You actually have to talk back to me. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself alone in a room, and that's silly. So, today we're going to dive into business. A few bits of housekeeping before we jump into that topic, which is, first of all, to let you know when these chats happen. So if you are new, you might not know, these happen every Wednesday. So we go live here on the Colourful Keys channel every Wednesday afternoon. That's my time here in Dublin. And that is 10 a.m. in New York, so 7, I think, in LA, nice and early anyway, and then 10 p.m. over in Perth, so nice and late if you're over the other side of Australia, and everything in between, of course, so you can work that out in your own time zone. But I love having lots of people here live, so please do come along live if you can next time, and make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you catch us live next time. So we dive into all different areas of music teaching here on the channel. Everything that independent music teachers need, so private independent vocal and piano teachers and violin teachers, it'll all pretty much be relevant to all of you. So that is the schedule. Now today, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into business. And the reason I've chosen business is actually based on our newest feature inside Vibrant Music Teaching. So for those of you who are new, we have a membership called Vibrant Music Teaching, where we provide fantastic resources and help teachers to really engage with their students and be successful in their lessons. And one of the features we just released is the Teacher Tracker, right? Teacher Tracker. So if you haven't heard of this yet, it is a system for helping teachers to figure out what they need to do at the moment, basically, and to avoid all that overwhelm. So the tracker itself covers lots of different areas, and there we go. The Teacher Tracker, it covers lots of different areas, 9 different areas to be precise. And each of these areas, teachers set to-do list items, basically a learning list based on one of these areas that they want to improve at a time. Okay? And what I want to do over the next 9 weeks then is to dive into each one of these areas in turn and zoom out almost from it, to take a broad look at each one of these and what are the different things we need to consider so that you can then hone in on one particular part of that. Does that sound good? I think it's going to be a fun theme for our next 9 weeks. Hit the like button if you like the sound of it. So we're going to dive into a different one of these each week over 9 weeks, and this doesn't cover all of teaching, but these are the main factors that I believe, the sort of themes that we can fit a lot of the stuff that we need to look at and continue learning about all through our lives as teachers into these 9 boxes, right? So we're going to start with business because it's the end of the year here in this hemisphere anyway, and that means that it's a good time to revisit a lot of this business stuff. So, to take a look at how we're doing our business and what we could do better. A lot of us do that during the summer, as well as having a real break. I'm not trying to take away your real break. You absolutely should have one, and I hope that you do take one. But if you're like me and you have 2 months where you don't really teach much at all, and you have a bit of extra time to spend doing various stuff before you take that time off, then this is a great time of year to think about your business, because it's actually a really great opportunity we have as piano teachers, I think, as independent music teachers, if we have this summer break, which a lot of us do, and we sometimes lament it and we try and get kids to stay enrolled in lessons over the summer, and sometimes that works. In some areas it just won't, and we have to accept that summer break. But if we want to look at the positive, which I always do, right? It's actually a really good opportunity. Most small businesses get stuck in the weeds. So the owner of the small business, whether that's a 1-person business, 10-person business, they get stuck in the weeds and they can't see the woods for the trees, right? And we have this opportunity every year. We have some kind of an extended break where we can take a look at some of these things in a broader way, because we're not actually doing it at that time. Does that make sense? So that we can actually step back away from it because we're not having to be doing the business, that we can actually look at our business and see, could we do this better? Could we do that better? We have this natural built-in break. It's something all business owners should be doing, but we have this time when I think it's an ideal opportunity to do this for those couple of weeks that you might want to take out of your teaching break. So I had a question in the chat there from Gary. Yes, Gary, if you're a member and you haven't seen the teacher tracker, please check it out. Please also search your email inbox, because you have been sent a few emails about that. And I know we all don't get to open all our emails, so no shame, but have a search for it, because that'll give you all the information about how to use it and give you a walkthrough video and all of that good stuff as well. So, but it is, as Ellen said and Laurie also said, it is on the homepage. So if you just click on home when you're logged in, not when you're not logged in, you can get to the teacher tracker. And for anyone who's watching who isn't a member and wants to know more about membership, you can go to vibrantmusicteaching.com. Okay, so there's 3 areas of business we're going to look into today. And then towards the end of the session, we're going to do another website review. I've been sent a website that we're going to take a look at from a teacher. If you want your website reviewed, let me know. You can just shoot me an email, or you can write in the chat, but YouTube won't let you link in the chat. So it's easier just to email me if you have my email. If you're subscribed, you already have my email address, so you can just reply to any of our emails and they'll get through to me. So we're going to be diving into a website review. Let me know if you've been finding those helpful, by the way. We've been doing them every so often here on the chat, and I think they've been really helpful. I think people are getting a lot out of them, but let me know if there's something that you want to continue as well. So the 3 areas of business that we're going to look at are profit, policies, and procedures. Those are all broad strokes, but we're going to look at each one of those in turn. I think it's going to be a useful way to zoom out, as I say, from our businesses and think about it. Think about them more generally and think about where we're doing well, right? You know that phrase, 2 stars and a wish? Do you know that phrase? Where you always give people, or maybe it's 3 stars and a wish, whatever it is. You always give people positive comments along with one thing to improve. It's a common teaching thing. And it's not something I follow very rigidly in my teaching, but I think it can be even more useful when you're talking to yourself. So take the time as we're going through these to say to yourself, I'm doing that well, right? I'm already doing great at that. And that's the thing I want to improve, rather than just immediately jumping and paying attention to all the things that I say that you're not doing well. Because there's going to be some that you're like, well, that's not ideal, or, oh, that's terrible. But pay attention to the things you're doing well already as well. Okay? Right, so profit then. Where's my thing? Oh, there he is. Right. So let's look at Profit First. And Profit First is a great book, but that's not what we're talking about. Let's just look at Profit First. So there are two sides to being profitable, or to making money, if we want to put it simpler. There is, if you're not making money, or if you're not making as much money as you think you should be in your business, either you are spending too much or making too little. It's that simple. And I know that is reductionist and simplistic, but sometimes we need to get that simple just to say, okay, well, which one is it? Is it this category or is it that category? Right? And if we can break it down like that, then we can start to hone in on what exactly we need to fix. If we don't know why things are happening, we can't fix them, right? It's as simple as that. So, let me know in the chat actually, if you believe this is an area, more generally, profit, making money, is this an area of your business where you struggle? Is it an area of your business that you're reluctant to talk about? Am I making you a bit uncomfortable right now? Because I know some people really don't like to talk about money. So if it is making you uncomfortable, kudos for staying with us, for staying tuned in, right? Because I know it isn't always the easiest topic, but it is absolutely essential that you make money because you're a business. Because you need to live, because you need to buy clothes, because you need to do things you love to do, and because you need to put food on the table. But also because if you don't make money in your teaching, you can't actually serve your students. That's the truth. So if you are uncomfortable with this idea of making money, I want you to come back to that fact. If you don't stay in business, you can't help anybody anyway. So there's no point, right? So either you're spending too much or making too little if you're not profitable. So which is it? If you are spending too much, I want you to start making a budget for your studio. The easiest way to make a budget, another word people don't like, right? I'm full of them today. The easiest way to make a budget is to write down what you spend and what you spent it on last year. You may already have these documents, you may not. Maybe you haven't been keeping good track. If you haven't, you're going to have to go back through things and try to analyze retroactively. But if you have, you can just open up your Excel spreadsheet or your My Music staff account or whatever. But the first thing you need to know to set a budget is, what am I spending now? And then you can start to trim things. But if you just go from, I think I should spend €50 a year on sheet music, well, you're gonna lose that game, right? It's not going to it's not going to be any use. You have to set realistic budgets, and those should be based on past spending unless you're a brand new teacher. So if you are spending too much money, set a budget. If you're someone who has set budgets in the past and you really struggle to stick to them, what I want you to do is, first of all, make sure you have a business account. If you're still struggling, make sure you only keep the right amount in that business account for your spending for that month. So, for example, if you're going to spend €100, $100 in September, because you know you need to buy a few new books, but you don't have huge costs in September. I'm just giving an example. It might be the most expensive month for you. I don't know. But let's say you're budgeting to spend $100 in September. Well, that's all you keep in your account. So you move everything else out. And if it means setting up a few extra bank accounts, it's absolutely worth it. And most banks now will let you do that for free. So like you can have a bunch of them. Some will even let you in your internet banking change the name of it. So you could have one called sheet music and one called savings, right, for personal stuff, etc., etc. But that's just a simple trick to make yourself stick to these things if you do struggle with this. Now, if you're looking at that budget and looking at your past spending and saying, I cannot cut any of these expenses, they are all essential, then you misdiagnosed yourself in the first step and you're actually making too little. Okay? You're not spending too much, you're making too little. If those are all non-negotiables, then you are making too little. So, why is that? There's two real reasons. One is you're not charging enough. The other is that you aren't full. So which one is it for you? Joanna said, I'm terrified at raising my fees this year. Just found out I'm undercharging and will have to charge that for the new year. Okay, so that's a tough one. Like I said, that's one of the options. If you're charging too little, you won't make enough money, you will go out of business, and your students won't be served by you anyway. So you do need to raise your rates if you do. Now, I say if you do, I believe that almost everyone should raise their rates almost every year. There's two caveats in there, the almost and the almost, but in general, most teachers should raise their rates every year a little bit, in my view, rather than having to do a big jump every once in a while. And a trap I see teachers falling into all the time is they raise their rates in a big jump, like Joanna is hopefully about to do. But then they feel so bad about that they don't do it next year. And they quickly fall into the same hole that they were just in. So please don't do that, Joanna. If you raise your rates in a big jump this year, you're going to be tempted to not touch them next year. But I want to encourage you to raise them anyway next year. What you need to do is you need to get people used to the fact that it's just normal that fees change every year. Now, I'm not saying make a big jump and then raise them another 10% next year. I'm saying like 1%, something. Change them though. Don't make it the same every year for years and years and years and then have to do a big change, because that's what people balk at. Gary said, not full. Right, so it's the opposite problem. You'll be raising your rates this year, that's great. But if you're not full, sometimes that can be the issue as well. So if you're not full, you need marketing. If your rates are too low, you simply need to raise them. If you do need resources on marketing, we have a brand new, pretty new, it's a few weeks old, marketing course. It's called Modern Music Teaching Studio Marketing. And that is available inside the video library for members. So if you want to dive into marketing and really honing your efforts there, that is the best place to start. It is about so much more than just advertising. So if you associate marketing with spending money on ads or with putting up flyers in your neighborhood, it's much bigger than that and much, much, much more useful and beneficial for you and your students. It's a big course in a good way, but very targeted on helping you improve your student funnel, retain students for the long term, and attract new students. The other thing, which might be useful for you, Joanna, is if you are going to raise your rates, we have a blog post about that. You can find it at colourfulkeys.ie/change, just the word change, because it is about making any change in your music teaching business. And it's one of the blog posts that I've had the most positive feedback on of anything ever that I've ever done. Because it's simple and vague, as in it's broad reaching. So it literally is about making any change in your business and step by step of, okay, here's what you need to do first, here's what you need to do next, and going on like that. So that might be useful to you, Joanna, and to anyone else watching who wants to raise their rates but is terrified, because a lot of us are. I totally get that feeling. Teresa said, I changed to term amount and raise a small percentage each year a couple of years ago and no one batted an eye. Yes, so true, Teresa. Great to see you here too. I offer scholarships on a confidential basis. I do that too. I have, and in fact, I slightly formalized it this year, as in I put a page on the site just saying, to get in touch with me if finances were a struggle, because they might be right now. They might be all the time, but they especially might be right now. So I did still raise my rates this year, even with the pandemic, but I put in the email, not to apologize for it, but just to say, by the way, we also have, I know people might be struggling. Here's a page with a little bit of information about our scholarship. Please get in touch with me if, you're considering withdrawing from lessons for financial reasons, because I don't want that to happen. And when you phrase it in that way, and when you make it a scholarship, I find no one really takes advantage of it when you frame it in that way. Where we run into trouble is when we call it a discount. And really a scholarship is a discount, especially if it's a partial scholarship. That is a discount. But it feels different. And when it comes to price, things feeling different really, really is important. So calling it a scholarship and making it official, and even making it based on something, if you want to have a minimum practice level or whatever. I don't. It's only for returning students though as well, so this is not something that I offer to brand new people. It's for returning students who are having trouble coming back to lessons for whatever reason, especially if a student who I know is really very committed to music and loves it, if their parents come to me and say, oh, we're going to take this one term off so that, and we're going to come back in in the next semester, because I've lost my job, my husband is sick, whatever, some reason. I would prefer to teach them for free under a scholarship for that term than to have them do that, because I can't hold that spot for them if they're not in it. So they're going to lose their spot in my studio. I have a waiting list. It's going to get full. So they're not going to make their way back in for years, like literally years. So they're going to have to find another teacher if they do come back. And the truth is, when students say that they're taking a break, they never are. They're actually usually leaving. But if it's a real thing where they really feel like they're taking a break, that's their intention, and they're otherwise very committed and it is purely financial, I like to offer that as an option. Cruise Piano Studio, what's a good percent to raise each year? 3% to keep up with the inflation rate. Yes, I would recommend at least keeping up with the rate of inflation. You can look up what that is on any given year. Just Google for that. You can look up the inflation rates. So at least keep up with inflation. Usually a little bit more on top of that, because you're also getting more experienced and better, and because most people charge too little. A lot of piano teachers, a lot of music teachers are charging too little. So, but if you are at the top of your market, if you are charging, high market rates, then maybe just keep up with inflation, but always do something, because otherwise you're cutting your pay every year. It doesn't add up. Okay, so that is profit. Let me know if that's the area you struggle with, or maybe it's the next one. Policy. I'm doing my crazy eyes on purpose because I feel like this makes a lot of teachers make the crazy eyes. So when it comes to policies, what do we need to bear in mind? What should we be potentially rethinking? What are the best practices? Well, I'm going to start with one thing, which is one element of policies, but it gets a lot of the discussion, and it's something people who follow my blog and stuff will know it's something I feel very strongly about, and that is makeup lessons. So if you are currently doing makeup lessons for your students, in other words, if they can get in touch with you and say, oh, little Johnny's feeling sick, or our car broke, or there's a basketball tournament, and reschedule that lesson, we call that a makeup lesson. So I'm calling that and them just not showing up and you making it up afterwards. I'm calling both, putting them under one bracket, which is makeup lessons. I don't want you to do them at all. And as I said, if people have followed the blog for a little while and stuff, they may already be aware of this. But for people who are new to this, I won't go on and on. I won't get up on my proverbial soapbox. But I do just want to emphasize that you shouldn't be doing them, and that if you think that it's unfair, I want you to read our post about that. So just look up makeup lessons, colourful keys. Don't just look up makeup lessons on its own, because that'll be lessons in makeup, and I know nothing about that. Nothing. So, but makeup lessons, colourful keys, and you will see my post about the shift I think you need to make in how you think about them if you feel like they're unfair. Because if you feel like they're unfair first, then you're never going to actually be able to follow through with your policy. Okay? Other policies you need are around people paying you on time, instituting a late fee if you feel you want to have that, maybe just as a backup plan. I have a late fee in my policies that I've never used, but I keep it there because I might want to use it. And with most things, I will stick pretty rigidly to my policies, but I don't have troublesome parents payment wise. However, if I did, I would have that backup plan, and I would start to institute that almost as a way to make them decide to get with the program, as in like get on board with how we do things here or leave, because it's just too much stress. Chasing down payments, I mean, it can be the absolute bane of a small business's existence. Luckily, it is not for mine, but I've seen firsthand how horrible that can be. My dad is a retired architect, and he ran his own architecture practice for quite a while, and he eventually then did that alongside teaching in a university, and he ended up giving up the architecture practice because it was making something like 10% of his overall income, but it was way over half his time, and most of that time was spent chasing people for money. That's the truth. So pay your architects on time. I know they're expensive, but pay them. That's the moral of that story. No, the moral is you need to have tight payment policies and you need to stick to them because things can snowball really fast. Some other things you might want to put in your policies are about parking in your area if you need to, your calendar, punctuality. Punctuality is it's important anyway, but it's especially important if you are traveling to students' homes. Now, I know not many people are doing that right now, but if you are, or you may be, think about punctuality and putting that into your policies, because what you want to stipulate in there is how long are you going to stay on that person's doorstep if they are not there before you leave. As a former traveling teacher myself, that is an important policy to have, because otherwise you're sitting there texting them, you don't know if they're showing up, maybe they're not replying to you, and you don't know when to leave. And it's a really awkward, horrible situation. And if you're in Ireland, it'll be raining. So you're sitting there in the rain. This was when I first started teaching, I was cycling, right? So I was cycling to students' homes, sitting there in the rain. I've made all the mistakes, and I don't want you to make them. So please put that in your policies. But even if you're teaching in a studio, I like to put punctuality in there just to say, if the teacher is late, we'll make up for that time. If the student is late, then we just still finish at the same time, just to make that uber clear. Now, here's the main thing I want to say about policies though. So I've babbled through all that different all the different options for policies, and there's other things you can include, and you can look up our blog article on that as well about policies for piano teachers. But the most important thing, absolutely key, there's two. Can I have two more most important things? First most important thing is that with new students especially, and with any students you haven't done this with in the past, you face to face with them, talk them through your policies. And notice I said talk, I didn't say read your policies to them. That's boring, no one will listen, that'll be horrible for both of you. But you need to talk them through your policies step by step, like this is how we do things here in a conversational way, face to face, looking them in the eye. If you take one thing from this video, that is it. because so many people are focusing on the policies. I get all these questions, and I see questions floating by me on the Facebook feed about, oh, should I put this in their policy? What about wording it this way? What about wording it that way? I'm not saying we shouldn't have those conversations, but all of that is nonsense. All of that is useless if you don't say it straight to your parents' face. Because policies are not actually legally binding. Sorry, they're not. We didn't get a lawyer to write them, so they're not. And they're really just codes of conduct. So if you don't communicate them with parents face to face, they don't do anything because the parent is not going to read them. And then still later they're going to say, oh, can you do XYZ? Can you make up this lesson? Oh, that's really unfair. Why can't you do it this way? If they say all of that and you say, you need to check the policies, it's there, it's not going to make a huge difference. In fact, it's just going to irritate people more. So most important is that you say them face to face. And second, equally most important, is that you stick to your own policies. Follow them. That's why mine are so simple. That's one of the reasons why mine are so simple. It's just a one-page sheet of bullet points. By the way, there's a question there. Who was it? Lynn. Could you see a copy of my policies? Yeah, you can literally just go on my website if you like. It's colourfulkeys.ie, as you may know, and on there, if you go to the lesson area, you'll find a link to my policies. Like, I have it on my website. There's a link to it directly, so for students to read. So you're welcome to look at that anytime. Anyone can. What was I saying? Yes. Get people to follow your policies by following them yourself. That's the truth. Don't have exceptions. Don't just do it this one time. Don't but. Just follow them. That's actually the fairest thing for everyone. We feel like we're being unfair and like so tough and right? And I know the feeling. Like, I'm one of the least confrontational people you will ever encounter. I hate it. But if you don't stick to them, first of all, you're setting yourself up for a way bigger confrontation down the road, and you're being unfair to the other students. This is what I come back to again and again myself, is I'm the type of person who will follow the policies without being asked, because I just follow rules, okay? That's what I do. I'm boring that way. So, I'm the type of person who will follow policies, and if I know someone else is getting away with all this stuff, that feels really unfair to me. I'm still going to follow the policies, but I'm going to be really bummed and I'm going to maybe look for a different teacher, because it's really irritating to me that the people who kick up a fuss end up getting what they want, and that's the least fair, right? And it's also not fair to all of your other students if you're spending all your time thinking about this one particular family who won't follow the way you want to do things. Laurie asked, what is the average rate per half-hour private lesson in the USA? Laurie, if you look up our report, colourfulkeys.ie/report, you will see our 2019 survey, which brings together lots of teachers, information from lots of teachers. We did a big survey about how much people are making based on where they live. We'll be doing another one of those towards the end of 2020, so I'm looking forward to expanding on that more, but that should give you a sense. Now, however, I will say you asked for in the US, I think, which is so vague. So I would just be cautious in both directions. You don't want to look at something that's really low, that is actually a teacher in a super rural area in one of the lowest cost of living states, and compare that with someone who's in downtown New York, right? It's not going to make any sense. There's completely different areas, so I would just compare like with like and try to look it up in your area if you can, because that's always going to be the best indicator of what the going rates actually are. Okay, that's policies. Our third area that I wanted to quickly look at before we do our website review is procedures. That's probably the most ridiculously exciting word of all of those ridiculously exciting words, right? Procedures. Okay, systems and procedures. What I want you to do here is to try and think about all the different things that have to happen in your studio. Everything. What I mean by this is, I literally do mean everything, but here's how you can think it through. I want you to think back to last September, or whenever your year starts, maybe it's August. Oh, we're thinking back to a pre-COVID time. It's so lovely and glorious and everyone can do whatever they want. Right, so it's September last year. What did you do that month? What's everything that you had to do? Maybe you had to make your schedule, maybe it was already set, I don't know. But scheduling, onboarding new students, so all the communication that you did with new parents in your studio, getting in touch with your waiting list or filtering people through to your waiting list if they were inquiring about lessons and you were full, sending out reports and updates, setting up events. All of these kinds of things happen every month, and they actually happen in a pretty predictable way, but we can often come across them as if they're brand new information. And we just do them in the moment, and we do them however we see fit right then. And that works out pretty much fine because we're a one woman or one man show, and it seems alright. And it does seem alright, it probably works out fine. But everyone is not getting the same experience from you. And one of the big areas that's a problem here is that, okay, so some parents studied music, some did not. We need to try and even that playing field with our new piano parents because we need to make it fair for all of those students. I think we can agree on that. And when we do things on the fly, we can end up just telling this parent that thing and that parent that thing. So we told one parent about piano benches and we didn't mention it to this other piano parent. Okay. Now let's say that you have two parents who didn't hear about the piano bench because you didn't happen to say it to them. One of them studied music growing up. They're fine. They figured out that they need a piano bench. They already knew that. They think it's common sense. The other piano parent has no idea that a chair is different from a piano bench, okay? She didn't have any friends growing up who played piano. She didn't have any of those advantages. That's not fair. This student is set up for great technique. This student is not. Right? So that's just one tiny example. But when we systematize things, it means that people get the same experience. And that's not because everyone's cookie cutter exactly the same. That's because we need to be consistent to be fair to all different types of students and to start letting more people into our community. People can answer in the chat here. Can you chime in? I like to ask this question a lot. Let me know in the chat whether your parents studied music. I've asked this in rooms full of teachers, and I normally get about 80 to 90% of people say their parents studied music at some point. I'm not saying they all have degrees, I'm just saying 80 to 90% had a parent who also studied an instrument. What we're doing there is we're making our little pool of people smaller and smaller and smaller and more homogenous, and it's kind of terrible. So I feel like I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but it is relevant. It is part of setting up these procedures. We got 2 no's in the comments. Nice. Oh, sorry, I might have asked that really unclearly. I mean your parents. Maybe some people got that, but I ask it clearer in the presentation where I normally ask this, but I just was wondering in the chat. Yeah, I think people thought I meant students' parents. I'm talking about your parents, because you're a success story. This is my point. You are the person who made it all the way through and, became a music teacher. Kept music in your life for the long term. And most of the people who do that, or a lot of the people who do that, had parents who studied music, because it's really hard to help your child with music when you didn't study it yourself. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, but at least one parent. Right. That's a side experiment. But I hope, you can let me know if any of that was unclear. I hope that you got what I'm saying about procedures. They're not, fun and jazzy, but they are important so that we don't let people slip through the cracks for silly reasons like not having a correct piano bench. So I want you to think through the whole of last year, September, what did I do? Who did I email? What did I spend my time on? No, I was about to say November, October, what did I do? Blah, 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 blah. Start to make that list, and you can build up a calendar of the things that need to happen. I like to do it based on time, not because of building a calendar per se, but because it helps you to actually think about what really happened and to get into the details of it. So when did you book your concert venue? When did you do this? When did you do that? It's easier to think about it in terms of time. Yeah. Okay. So those are the 3 areas that I wanted to look at today. Let me know if this overview was helpful. Please hit the like button if it was helpful for you. And we're going to dive into a website review now. So for those of you who haven't been on before, when I've done one of these, what we're going to do is open up a studio website that I've been sent. Someone wants me to look at their website and just give my thoughts on it, and you guys can give your thoughts in the chat as well about what she could improve, what could be made different, and what kind of vibe it's giving off, as well as how effective it's going to be for her marketing. So if you're someone who would like this done for your own website, obviously it's a bit vulnerable. It's going here on the chat, but I'm always nice. So nice and constructive at the same time, I hope. Okay, so we're going to dive into this website and see what's what. I have not looked at it at all, so we'll see what happens. Where did I put it? There it is. Okay, so this is our site that we're looking at. And this is the homepage where we've arrived. So it's backintunepianoservice.com. Now, the first thing that I would say here is the name is pretty confusing to me. So you can let me know in the chat, guys, if you think so too, or maybe I'm just silly. But Back in Tune Piano Service definitely made me stop. And we don't want to be confusing. Now, I get it. I mean, when I thought about it for more than a split second, of course I thought, she's probably a piano tuner and a teacher. But that's because I already have some prior knowledge. So I have to pretend that I don't, because remember that potential piano parent may not know anything about anything. They may not know pianos need to be tuned, right? So it does say underneath here, piano lessons and music classes, piano tuning and maintenance. So that explains it, but the name is a little bit confusing to me. I'm not suggesting changing the name necessarily or the URL, but with that kind of a name, I would like to see some bigger text explaining what I'm looking at. Now, I do get that it's piano. I've got a broken piano down here for piano maintenance. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, I talked about big text. This is big text. However, it is quite hard to read, right? And that's because the image is scrolling, which is a lovely effect, but it has several problems when you have white text or any color text that is going to blend at some point. So it's really hard to see when it's on the hammers like that, like it was for us when we opened it up there. So I'd consider changing the color of text or making the image like 50% opacity, meaning it's slightly see-through and on a dark background so that it becomes darker. Okay? So just find a way to make that text easier to read. I'm not sure about the piano full stop. I think you could say a little bit more there. Perhaps saying like piano lessons and tuning. Piano lessons, tuning and maintenance. Something like that. just in a bit bigger. I know it says that here. But yeah, I think that could be bigger and clearer, and you possibly don't need the subhead line. I know I'm nitpicking on that, but anyway, something big and a bit clearer so that this doesn't catch my attention straight away, because I find that a bit confusing. I want something here to catch my attention so that I know exactly, what I'm looking at. Okay, so after that I have something really good, and if you've watched website reviews here before, you'll know that we need a big call to action. And it's great because we do have one, which is awesome. So that's something that's going well on this site. It says, get a free piano lesson. I don't really care what the call to action is, by the way, just that it's there. Now, is that link not working, or is it us? Let's see. Oh, nope, that link is not working. Okay, so fix the link, but otherwise that's great. Have that there. I would double that up if you can and put it up in the right-hand corner here so that I have that double call to action, which is the same exact wording, same button appearance, everything the same, but in the top right corner as well, because that's the other place I'm likely to look for what I should do next. Then we have piano lessons, music classes, piano maintenance. Okay. It's great that you're doing games, love that. For music classes, for beginnings. Okay. Can you change this wording to be about the student? Because it's great that we have student images there, and I love that. But it says what you do. It doesn't say. So, it could be directed at the parent, is what I'm saying. Enroll your child in lessons, and they'll be learning theory through games and activities so that they won't even, they won't even notice how much they're learning. Something like that. So that it's actually directed to the parent. And again, this is about you. Just try to change the wording so that you're talking to them, not about you. Okay, this is fine for further down the page. Okay, I'm not sure about this section. Seems a bit odd to me. It's going to link to the about page, I think. Okay, this is a wordpress.com site. Oh dear, okay. You definitely don't want me to have to log in to find out about you, so I think that's an error. That's also... Okay, no, you're not linking correctly, so there's a problem with your links. I think what you meant to link to there... Yeah, you've linked to the editor somehow. Is probably without all the WordPress stuff. Anyway, just check your links in general. Okay, a bit about me. I wouldn't say it like that. I would just say... Is that going to take us to the right place? Let's see. Yes. Just about. Keep it simple. Everyone knows what an about page is. There's no need to be clever. You can have this here, but in the menu, just about. And don't put the welcome and then the sub menu. That's annoying to use. So just the word about, and that takes me here. Piano lessons, policies and payments, piano lesson information, music classes and camps. Can we switch these around? Policies and payments shouldn't be the first thing I see. Like, that's not exciting to me, right? As a piano parent, I think it should be there. I like having payments listed on the site. That's good, but I'd put it at the bottom of the menu. And let's see what happens when I click on the main thing. Yeah, okay, that does good to this one, which is right. Okay. This language is a bit passive. I like it for the most part. But it's very directed at adult students. Would you love to just sit down at the piano and be able to play something? Do you wish you'd taken lessons but never got the chance? So that's all adult piano lessons. So if the title here was adult piano lessons and you had pictures of adults, that would make sense to me. But it doesn't make sense followed by kids and as a general piano lesson topic. So I'd just be wary of that. And then Yeah, okay. So music classes, there's Classical Causeway, great to see it in action. Okay, this is good stuff. I think you could have a bit more copy, and I think you could split this up into several pages. Copy just means words, by the way, sorry. So you can have piano lesson information that's a page like this, but you could have a bit more and it could be divided into sections, or you could have several pages. One about adult piano lessons, one about kids, one about, right? Or sections of the same page. It's really either or on that. Either would work fine. Then let's just look at the tuning and maintenance area. There was a comment there in the chat from Caro Violetta about the amount of white space on the screen. I actually disagree with you there, Caro. So you said that there's too much white space. White space is actually good, and we don't want too much. I agree with you in some respect. We're talking about the home page. So there is a lot of white space on the screen. That doesn't bother me as long as this button stands out. Doesn't really matter to me, and it can actually be a breath of fresh air. We don't want a wall of text or anything like that, so it's good that there is a bit of space. Okay, tuning information. Can we have a picture on this page though, please? That would be good. Doesn't really matter what the page is. I believe it should have a picture on it to make it friendlier. But yeah, that's totally fine. I would just change this from how may I help you to tuning rates and services. Yeah, there should be a button on this page telling me how to book the tuning. Contact form, that's all fine. Okay, so I hope that was useful and gives everyone a sense of what to do on the site. We didn't really look at this about page, but it needs a picture for sure, okay? Yep. Very hard to connect with someone when you can't see what they look like. So a picture of you looking happy at a piano would do wonders to that page for sure. Okay, so I hope this was useful as a website overview and that you like this segment in general. Everyone who's watching live, if you could let me know what you think of the website reviews, even if it's that, I prefer the rest of the show, I don't like this bit. That's fine, tell me. Because I don't know what's useful if you don't tell me. I think they can be quite beneficial because you can learn a lot about marketing from them. Even if you don't have your own studio website, it helps you to see the message that you're getting across. And I thought, particularly for our business day, it would be a useful thing to do and valuable when it comes to your own website or your own marketing materials more generally. But let me know whether it was helpful for you. Joanna said she really likes the website review, so that's great. Jazriel had a question. She said, do you seek parents' permission before taking photos or videos of your students before posting them on websites and social media? If you do you ask them each time you upload? Yes, seek permission. No, you don't need to ask every time. But you need to have a form that you give out to people that you have permission. Now, this depends on country, but definitely here in Ireland, and I believe it's just fair to do this anyway. Don't make it a default that they have to. So in some studios that I've seen, they have a policy document and they say in it, oh, by joining our studio, sometimes we share our photos, blah, blah, blah. You're agreeing to this, please sign below. That's certainly not allowed here in Ireland. It's not allowed under GDPR. It's also not really fair, I don't think. So make sure you give people an option. I allow people to opt out or in. They can choose from 3 options. So yes, ask me on a case-by-case basis, or no. And the ask me on a case-by-case basis is mostly really for parents who basically only want to use photos at a studio recital or like be in a group photo. And if I ask them in that case, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's fine. But they don't want like photos of just their kid. So it's a mostly no when they tick that box is what I take it to mean. So yes, absolutely ask permission. No, you don't need to do it every time, but make sure that the form is very clear about where stuff will be used. For instance, I use some photos or videos within the membership site, and that is clearly outlined in that document that they sign, so that they know they're not just signing up for my studio Facebook page, that their kid might be in a lesson video on the site, and they have to be okay with that if they tick the box. Like, it has to be fair and clear to them. So I hope that helps, Jazreel. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Oh my gosh, it's been wonderful. And I hope you've enjoyed it too. We're going to be diving into each of those topics, going through that list. So some of them are pedagogy, some of them are business related. Next week, we're going to be looking at reading in a general way. How do we teach reading? How do we teach it effectively? How do we keep students motivated with it? What about transfer students who come to us with poor reading skills? We're going to take a broad look at everything to do with teaching music reading, and I think it's going to be a really good one. That's going to be next Wednesday at this time, if you're watching live, or you can check the time this was posted if you're watching on the replay. Make sure to subscribe to the channel here so that you get the next one of these when they go live, because otherwise you won't know about it. And make sure to hit the like button before you leave, because that lets YouTube know that you find this content helpful and valuable, and that you want it to continue, and that you want other teachers to find it, right? And if everyone improves their business, we all get better as an industry. It's better for everyone. So we absolutely want to spread this to as many people as possible. I hope that you'll do that and share it with a teaching colleague if you found it helpful and think they could get value from it too. Thank you all so much once again. It's been great to hang out with you. Absolutely love spending time with you each Wednesday, and I will see you again next week.